Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. In my last video, we talked about high liquidity silver. We talked about American Silver Eagles, about recognition and trust, and we talked about why some stackers are willing to pay higher premiums in exchange for easier resale. But today we're moving on to the second pillar of my silver stacking framework, high efficiency. And to understand high efficiency silver, we need to talk about something that most stackers overlook, the spread. Congratulations to Matthew Brown for getting to the comment section in my last video first. Y'all go down to the comments to find him and start a conversation. Today we are talking about the second pillar of my stacking framework, high efficiency. If you haven't seen my video about high liquidity, I suggest you watch that one next. But to understand high efficiency, it all starts with the spread. There are really two main factors for efficiency, the spread and then premium. The spread is often more important than the premium, but since people only are exposed to the buying side most of the time, the premium is usually the only thought. It's the purchasing price. They look at two products and ask which one's cheaper, which one has the lowest premium, which one gives me the most silver. And while those are important questions, they aren't the complete picture, because buying silver isn't just about what you pay, it's also about what you can sell it for. And the difference between those two numbers is what's called the spread. The spread is simply the difference between your purchasing price and your resale value. So let's look at an example. Let's imagine that silver spot price is $65 an ounce. You can buy a generic round for $70. That's a $5 premium. And your local dealer might be paying $55 for generic silver. Your spread is $15 per ounce. And before y'all get into the comments and talk about how a $15 spread is just insane, these are made up numbers. But some online dealers have current spreads of about $23. So understand that the current volatility is what creates this spread. So back to the example, you paid $70 and you can immediately sell it for $55. That difference is $15. So if we compare that to another product, the Canadian maple leaf, these are usually just about 0.25% to 0.5% more. So let's just say the Canadian maple leaf costs $73 and your dealer is paying $58. Again, that is a $15 spread. The spread is exactly the same, but something interesting just happened. The Canadian maple leaf costs more. The generic costs less, and yet both have the same spread. And this is where many stackers will just stop thinking, because they see the maple leaf and say, well, the dealer's paying more, that must be better. Or the generic ounce is cheaper, that must be better. But is it? If we look deeper, imagine if you were investing $10,000 today. We'll use the same example. A generic round costs $70 and a maple leaf costs $73. With the $10,000, you could purchase approximately 143 ounces of generic silver. With the same $10,000, you could purchase approximately 137 ounces of maple leaves. That is a difference of 6 ounces, 6 extra ounces. And remember, both products have the same exact spread. That's the key. If the spread is the same, then one product allows you to acquire more ounces, the cheaper product gains the advantage. With a $15 spread, both products break even at $80 silver. Suppose silver rises back to $100 per ounce. Remember, the generic stacker owns 143 ounces. The maple stacker owns 137 ounces. If both broke even at $80, then every $1 rise after $80, each ounce you hold profits $1. So the generic stacker gained $20 per ounce, and the maple stacker gained $20 per ounce. The difference is how many ounces they hold. The generic stacker would have profited $2,860, while the maple stacker profited $2,740. That's a $120 difference. And the difference isn't because silver moved differently. The difference is because one investor owned more ounces. And they owned more ounces because they started at a lower acquisition cost with the same spread. This is why currently generic silver has high efficiency. In this category, the goal is not maximum liquidity. The goal isn't prestige. The goal isn't collectability. The goal is just efficiency. First, we look at the spread. How quickly can we break even? Some lower premium products have such lower buyback rates that the spread is even wider. You'll be waiting even longer for your silver to break even, and sometimes the volume can help you catch up after break even, but in many cases you're waiting far too long for massive movements to consider this an efficient silver. So then the question becomes, how much exposure can you get to the price itself? Because here's the most important part. I'll say it again. Once you've crossed your break-even points, every additional dollar increase in silver becomes a dollar increase per ounce. Think about that. After you've recovered your spread, every dollar that silver moves higher adds exactly $1 per ounce to your position. If you own 200 ounces, that's $200. If you own 500 ounces, that's $500. If you own 1,000 ounces, that's $1,000. You no longer start asking, well, what's the spread? How much am I getting paid? Because you've already recovered that spread. This volume truly begins to matter. Now, that doesn't mean that generic silver is always the answer. Remember, every category solves a different problem. High liquidity category sacrifices efficiency in exchange for recognition. The high efficiency category sacrifices some recognition in exchange for ounces. Neither is wrong. And understand that it's more about the formula and your time horizon. You could find a larger spread item that has a much lower premium. That means that the break even won't happen at $80 in this example, but if you get enough volume, the profits may grow fast enough to overtake the comparable position if you wait long enough. Similarly, you can find a higher premium product that has a tighter spread. Even though you have less ounces, you'll break even faster and even profit before the comparable stack can break even. But be careful, because some high premium silver can cost you so much in silver volume that the movement after break even may not be worth it in the long run. Now, before I wrap this up, let me say this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to only buy generic silver, and I'm not telling you to avoid sovereign bullion. I'm certainly not telling you to copy my stack. Every investor has a different budget, different goals, and different priorities. What works for me may not work for you. But if you're trying to understand silver from an efficiency perspective, I encourage you to start tracking spreads. Look at the buy price and the sell price and calculate the difference. And I know someone's going to be in the comments mentioning that I didn't bring up capital gains tax, even though I was talking about selling silver. Please understand your tax code. And realize that today we talked about a $10,000 investment. And in this case, I mentioned that silver got back up to $100, which currently would be a $35 move or a 50% increase. In that pretty extreme example, comparing these two products had a $120 difference. Really, it's not that serious. If you liked today's video, make sure to go hit the thumbs up button, go into the comment section to start or continue a conversation, share this video with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe if you haven't already. And to my long-term subscribers, thank you so much for your continual support. Make sure you go to josephsreserves.com to check out my merchandise, coffee mugs, zip-up bags, and of course the It's Today Again coffee. But most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up. So no matter how small, just keep stacking.